Well, this is a good question for Beth. It says, "Does God create natural disasters?" Ah, this is a really big one. Really, I would like to give what I think, and I could be wrong, but first of all, I don't know completely. I'll just start out by saying that. But I think, I think basically there's three things. I suppose maybe there's more, but I like to think there's three ways of looking at this. We'll put God up here. Okay, He's ultimately in charge. So we have natural disasters, which basically I will say nature is involved, natural, and so God did create nature. I believe it was cursed, and um, I think in one sense he didn't abandon it because he's definitely renewing it and refreshing it. Psalm 104 says, I don't know, but because of sin entering the world, he did he. I'm not a deist, believing that God is distant from it. He's very involved, but he also just kind of gave it up a little bit. You know, the Bible does say the wrath of God is revealed um, upon us. It says in Romans chapter 1, verse 17, wrath of God has been revealed because of our unrighteousness and ungodliness. And the way he demonstrates his wrath now, presently, is he steps back or gives it up. He gave up. Now that says it three or four times. So his judgment and anger and all is God just has allowed man, who was supposed to be the manager and the supervisor, the ruler, the king, the little g ruler, God over this world. You know, he screwed up with it, and so sin is very deep and deep implications. Like, look at the atrocity of sin, the horror of it. But anyway, so we have nature, and then we have God Himself, who maybe could be doing natural disasters. We'll look at that. And then we also have another entity who has power. He's not all powerful at all. He's an angel, but he has some power in manipulating things and causing things. Nature, I believe, my personal opinion is that yes, yes, yes. Sometimes he may not be involved at all. Sometimes it's him and he's allowing him, as in the book of Job. If you remember, in one day, Job went from rich to poor. Not, I don't know how poor, but he lost. And the first thing, he lost all his oxes, his donkeys, oxen, from thieves, Sabaeans. And then the second disaster happened right after that was a fire from heaven. I don't know if that's literal fire, could be, or it could be in the sense of some sort of volcanic thing or something. I don't know. But that took and destroyed. And by the way, the thieves in the beginning were murderers too. And then then the next one was it his camels? I think, or no, the camels was the next one. He lost something else on that. He also the third one was camels and the I think it was Chaldeans. I'm not sure. Anyway, another group of people came in. And then at the end, two of these are natural disasters. Two of them are people doing it, instigated and influenced and led by the devil. See, because God said, go ahead and do it. He allows him to do it, which is another deeper question. Why do he allow him to do it? If he's allowing him, he may will it. Yeah, to some point he is. The Bible does say, by the way, and I'm kind of going all over the place here, but in Lamentations chapter 3, it says, the Lord does not willingly afflict or bring grief to the children of men. He doesn't afflict willingly. He doesn't want to, but there are times he does it. Discipline purposes, a cleansing purposes, a shaking up, a waking up of people, because people are so lethargic and so out of it, and they're all comfortable. Well, not everybody's comfortable, but especially in this nation, comfortable and at peace and at ease. Woe unto them are at ease. So I anyway, the devil did this, and the last one, by the way, if you remember, he had 7 sons. Job had 7 sons and 3 daughters, and they were all killed instantly because a wind came, a really strong wind came, and the house collapsed. A great wind just hit it. I don't know if that was a storm of some sort. Could be sort of a tornado, maybe. I don't know. So he did it, but he allowed it. And then he's in charge of, God is ultimately in charge of nature, and God is ultimately in charge of the devil. He only gave him permission to do so much, and he obeyed him. So ultimately, in my opinion, God is very involved. Um, and at the same time, I think this is very involved. So going back to this, I don't want to say God's the cause of everything. It reminds me of a passage, Luke 13, where let's see, a tower fell on some, like 18 were dead, and some other disaster. And Jesus said, they asked him, "Oh, were these guys sinners? Was like God was targeting them, or in that day and age, leprosy, all these skin diseases were caused by God and cursed by God?" Or the blind man in John 9, for example, who sinned? The disciples said, "Did this man sin or his parents?" He said, "Neither one." So it's not like targeting. So God, in a sense, pulls back and he allows various things, calamities, disasters, natural disasters, tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, all these things, pandemics, to happen. So ultimately, God is in charge and he's orchestrating and he uses it for sure. So if we lose people, it's sad. It's heartbreaking. God's actually heartbroken. Remember, it says he's not willingly bringing, he's grieved. When he destroyed the earth with a flood, that major worldwide flood, God's heart was grieved. God's heart was grieved deeply. So I don't have all the answers on that. My personal opinion, though, well, actually, there are some other verses specifically that says it. In Amos chapter 3, verse 6, I'll turn to that real quick. I'll try and keep this short. Amos chapter 3, I think it's verse 6. Amos, where is it? It's right about here. Amos. Yeah, it says, maybe it's in verse 6. Oh, yeah. Maybe. "Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people not be afraid? Shall there be calamity, disaster, evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it?" Like God did it. So in a way, he's like very involved. Or another passage is Isaiah 45. Let me see here what that says. He says this. This is really good. This actually reminds me of another passage in Exodus chapter 3 or chapter 4 in that discussion with Moses. I made the mouth, I made the blind, deaf, blind. His finger is in it. He says, "I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create disaster." So that's not very popular. That's not, some people will be, God's a good God. He is good, very good, infinitely good. We'll see, why does he do all this? Well, some of it's beyond our reasoning. Sorry. It's just he's God. You're finite. He's infinite. And also, though, that God actually has awesome plans that he's doing within the midst of all of it. All the problems that we have in our world, everything, ultimately, God is using it. And that's the key word here. All things work together for those who love God. All things work. God causes all things to work together for them who love God, who are called according to his purpose. So, yes, I think God is involved in it, and we need to fear him and also know that he's infinitely good and he has real good reasons for it. Goodness, wisdom, and power. Infinite in all three. All three of those together causes me to have great faith in him. So I don't know if this has mixed you up more, but I personally believe ultimately that God is very much in charge, and some of it could be judgment, some of it could be just the nature itself that he put into motion and sin entered and caused the problems. It's our fault ultimately. All right, God bless you. Bye.